Okay, welcome back to AP Economics. This is Dr. Kling, and I want to talk about the loanable funds market and the money market. Now, before I did this video, I cheated, and I discovered this channel, G.E. Walker 72, and she has a video on the loanable funds market that's just great. In fact, my guess is, I haven't watched any of her other videos, but she's got this whole series on both AP Micro and AP Macro, and in terms of preparing for the AP, my guess is they're way better than my videos. I mean, they don't have all the delightful sarcastic comments that I've got, but when it comes time to crunch time, the weeks before the AP, remember this channel and go look at her stuff. It'll really help prepare for the AP. Okay, so let me put these two diagrams side by side, which is where they belong. Now, so we have loanable funds and we have money market. And they belong side by side because they have the same thing on the vertical axis. Vertical axis is the interest rate. And I'll make one of my sarcastic comments right now. It's actually should be a different interest rate, but that's not the way we think about it in introductory macroeconomics. Okay, on the horizontal axis, I'm going to put what G.E. Walker 72 puts for QLF, and I assume you can get away with it. It stands for quantity of loanable funds. And the money market, I'll put M, and that stands for money. So that's a little bit more straightforward. Now, when I learned this same material, I learned it with these two diagrams mushed together into something called ISLM. And so they both had the interest rate on this axis, but it was just one diagram with the interest rate here, as it is in these diagrams, but on the horizontal axis there was output, Y. So and I guess that's considered a little bit too complex for introductory macro. The problem that we're wrestling with in these is that we want to talk about the determinants. We want to talk about several variables. We want to talk about interest rates. We want to talk about money, the quantity of money outstanding. We want to talk about investment. We talk about output. That's probably enough. And that's too many to put on one diagram. So what the ISLM thing does is it puts interest rates and output on the diagram and has money and investment in the background. And what this loanable funds and money market thing does is it puts interest rates and money, so the loanable funds thing, well, the money market diagram certainly puts interest rates and money in there. Somehow investment and output are kind of in the background. They're more in the loanable funds, in the background of the loanable funds diagram. Anyway, so the point is, it's too much stuff to present easily. There's no perfect way to present it. And in fact, let me show you something. Here's something I saw just the other day called Why I Do Not Like the ISLM Model. And it's a bunch of valid criticisms of a bunch of things that are left in the background in either the ISLM model or in what we're about to go over. Things that are left in the background include price changes in the price level, expectations about inflation, something called Federal Reserve reaction function. That's how the Fed might respond to various developments. The term structure of interest rates, so you remember I made this sarcastic comment that it's supposed to be the same interest rate in both of these diagrams, but the interest rate in the money market diagram is a short-term rate. It's the Fed funds rate, and that's an overnight lending rate. The loanable funds interest rate is probably something like a 10-year corporate bond. But we skip over that and call it the interest rate. And that post that I showed you a second ago complaining about the ISLM model, what's one of its complaints is that the ISLM model also pretends that these are the same interest rate. So anyway, there are a bunch of issues. Let's not worry about the issues. Let's learn how to use the diagrams. Okay, so let me start with the money market since that's the easiest. We have a money supply controlled by the Fed. Remember, using the three tools of monetary policy. And then we have money demand, and the idea is that if the interest rate is really high, then holding money as currency has a big opportunity cost, because currency doesn't earn interest. So what you want to do, and most checking accounts traditionally didn't earn interest, and that was, or certainly often you can earn higher interest rates elsewhere. So when interest rates are high, you want to hold very little money as currency because you're missing out on the chance to earn interest. Instead, you want to keep your funds in interest-bearing accounts as much as possible and hold as little money as possible. When interest rates are really low, as they are today, you don't care. If you're carrying cash, your main worry is somebody will steal it, but you don't think that, wow, if I stuck this in the bank, I would be earning so much interest, and why am I not doing that? So that's the idea of this money demand, is that the amount of money you wish to hold, that is the amount of non-interest bearing money that people are willing to maintain on hand, depends on the interest rate. If interest rates are low, they'll take more. If interest rates are high, they'll take less. Okay, now the loanable funds story, we have, I'll borrow this other teacher's stuff, since I assume she knows what works on the AP. A demand for loanable funds and a supply of loanable funds. In general, in economics, demand curves slope downwards, so D is down, and supply up is part of supply, slope upward. It's something you can all remember. The demand for loanable funds slopes downward. Think of that as businesses wanting to borrow money to buy equipment, and think of it as hang on a second, and think of it as households wanting to borrow money to buy houses. Well, when interest rates are high up here, people don't want to borrow much for houses, and businesses are a little nervous about paying those high interest costs to get capital equipment, so the demand for loanable funds is low. When interest rates are low, conversely, people are willing to borrow more for housing, to buy cars, and for businesses to buy equipment. The Supply of loanable funds is upward sloping under the theory that when interest rates are high, consumers are induced to save more and to earn that higher interest. And when interest rates are low, they're not as excited about earning the interest, so that the supply of loanable funds will be low. That's the rationale for that supply story. And of course, since we're talking about the same interest rate, we should always draw a horizontal dotted line connecting these two diagrams, because it's the same interest rate and the diagrams are connected. So let me next show what happens when you shift something in these diagrams, because that's really what the game is all about. So we'll put the loanable funds thing here, put the money market here. I'm just going to put LF, MM, I, QLF, M, and I'll put a SLF, DLF. This time I'll be careful to draw the dotted line first. Good idea. And we have MS, which is, it's supposed to be a vertical line, the Fed fixing the supply of money, and a money demand curve. So that was just drawing what we had before. And an example of a shift. The demand for loanable funds might increase. That could come from anything on the spending side, sudden increase in the marginal propensity to consume, or an increase in investment for just animal spirits, for whatever reason businesses want to invest more, or an increase in government spending. Any of those things, or a cut in taxes. Those will increase the demand for loanable funds. So we'd shift to the right. Generally, increases in things on economics diagrams involve shifts to the right. So just think in terms of shifting things to the right anytime we talk about an increase. So we shift the demand for loanable funds to the right. That raises the interest rate, and that raise in the interest rate we want to show up in the money market diagram. And so, since with the money supply fixed, the only thing we can do is shift the money demand up. So as we get more overall spending in the economy, people need more money to carry out those transactions, and so the money demand goes up, and that becomes our new equilibrium, our higher interest rate. So we have a higher interest rate, and in the background there's more output. So this could be a fiscal expansion, or just an economic expansion caused by things that are going on in the private sector. Okay, let me put another set of these diagrams up. Hang on a second. Okay, I just want to show one more change, which would be an expansionary monetary policy. So we would start that in the money market diagram. We'll expand the money supply, shifting it to the right again. That causes the interest rate to go down. And what do I want to have here? I think what I want to have here is banks supplying more loanable funds. One way to think of loanable funds is it's funds available in banks. And I think what I want to have is the supply going up. Just as the money supply is going up, the supply of loanable funds is going up. And when we come down to here, we've increased investment, and therefore we're increasing output. And so that's these two diagrams. Learn to use them side by side. Thank you.